The Delhi riots conspiracy charge sheet is in, and we are here to give you its highlights. Delhi Police Special Cell claims that the violence where 53 people were killed and property worth crores destroyed was a conspiracy by activists protesting against the Citizenship Amendment Act. That their idea of a chakka jam was meant to evolve into riots by attacking the police and non-Muslims.
The Quint scanned the final report that lays down the police's conspiracy theory and found several loopholes. But before we get into that, it is important to note that there are two aspects of the anti-CAA protests that the charge sheet is able to establish reasonably effectively.
There was some degree of coordination between different groups of anti-CAA protesters, with some linkages with ground-level protest organizers as well.
There was a coordinated call to carry out a chakka jam in parts of northeast Delhi to coincide with the Bharat Bandh.
Now the gaps or the misses in the charge sheet. 8 concerns that the charge sheet did not address adequately. The Delhi police in their earlier charge sheets in June claimed that the conspiracy was hatched in a meeting between Khalid Saifi, Tahir Hussain and Umar Khalid at Shaheen Bagh on 8th January. The Quint's investigation then revealed that there was no information whatsoever about Trump's visit to India then, raising the question of how then could the trio have planned anything during Trump's visit. The Delhi police have now changed this date to over a month later to 16-17 February. Have they addressed the loophole that we exposed? They haven't. And since they haven't, what explains this change?
The link regarding how and when a plan to facilitate protests or even carry out a chakka jam became a conspiracy to carry out violence against non-Muslims, a claim the police has made strongly in the charge sheet, is not clear.
The WhatsApp groups examined by the police do reveal discussions on carrying out a chakka jam. But in none of the groups highlighted by the Delhi police in the charge sheet is the violence being incited, planned or even condoned.
The charge sheet ignores differences within anti-CAA protesters. For instance, Sharjeel Imam called off the Shaheen Bagh protests a few weeks into it, but the sit-in continued until March. Even though the police argues that Imam continued to be in control, it is true that Shaheen Bagh protesters had vocally distanced themselves from him. Hence, activists from outside often didn't have the kind of control over local protesters that the police would want you to believe.
There were differences, especially in the Delhi Protest Support Group, the DPSG, on whether there should be a blockade in Northeast Delhi at all. However, instead of appreciating the context behind this debate, it seems like the police is hell-bent on picking on a few messages to tag people with the role of a conspirator.
Similarly, there were also genuine debates on whether the protest should be secular or Muslim-centric. But the police presents the focus on the former as an effort to deceive. It is not clear why some parts of the WhatsApp chats are to be taken at face value and others are to be dismissed as an effort at deception.
Two aspects that changed between December 2019 violence and February 2020 remain unaddressed. The clashes in December were primarily between the police and anti-CAA protesters. However, in February 2020, pro-CAA or pro-Hindutva activists got involved. There is enough evidence for this in testimonies, complaints, FIRs and videos. The charge sheet, however, does not acknowledge this.
The second aspect regarding the same period is the steady increase in pitch from the pro-CAA side as well. This includes statements by BJP leaders like Anurag Thakur, Kapil Mishra and Pravesh Verma in the context of the Delhi elections. The two attacks on anti-CAA protesters in Jamia and Shaheen Bagh by pro-CAA gunmen, and finally Kapil Mishra and Ragini Tiwari's appearances in Northeast Delhi on 23rd February. Considering that over 2/3 of those killed in Northeast Delhi violence were Muslims, this other strand cannot be left unaddressed.